Welcome to the Spiritual Deep Dive in 5 podcast. So glad you could join us to spend some time reflecting on God and His love for each of us today. Make sure to like this video, hit the subscribe button, ring that bell. That way you'll never miss out on any of our content. The Spiritual Deep Dive podcast is posted Monday through Friday by Christ Church of Flagstaff here in Flagstaff, Arizona. And you can find more information about our church online at ccof.church. Thank you so much for watching, and we are so excited to see what God is going to do in your life because you are committed to spending time with Him.
Welcome back to the Spiritual Deep Dive in 5. My name is Garrett, and I get to be one of the pastors here at Christ Church of Flagstaff. And today I want to share with you my thoughts on a passage from the book of Galatians. So let's dive right in. Galatians chapter 6, verse 4. Paul says to the church in Galatia, he says, each one should test their own actions. Then they can take pride in themselves alone without comparing themselves to someone else. Eugene Peterson, in his translation that we call The Message, he words it like this. He says, make a careful exploration of who you are and the work you have been given, and then sink yourself into that. Don't be impressed with yourself. Don't compare yourself with others. Each of you must take responsibility for doing the creative best you can with your own life. So you and I live in a time, in a world where we are completely surrounded by comparison. We have scores and rating systems for everything and everyone around us. See, recognizing something's worth isn't really the problem here. You and I live in a modern world where we have to make decisions about what things are worth. That's, of course, going to happen. But the problem, I think, is when we begin comparing creation to creation, especially when we start comparing humans to humans. See, most commonly, of course, this happens in our heads. We would never tell someone that we're comparing them with someone else. But you and I have this inner monologue, this thought of maybe they're a little bit less valuable. We may not say it that way, but we may begin to treat them. We may begin to act differently around them because of those things that we do in our heads. See, we literally have apps nowadays where we can begin to compare people and decide if they're worth our time to have a conversation with, comparing them to numerous other people that we've swiped left or swiped right to. See, comparing creation to creation always leads us to destruction. Whether it's in the Garden of Eden, where Adam and Eve begin comparing their experience before they eat the forbidden fruit to after they eat the fruit, or the comparison that we see of different kings and rulers, seeing someone else with a larger kingdom, with more power and influence. They want that, and so they do something destructive to begin to see themselves as higher than that other person. And it even happens between two of Jesus's disciples. They're arguing one day about who will be the greatest in Jesus's kingdom. And Jesus responds by placing a child on his lap and says that whoever welcomes children welcomes him. See, Jesus doesn't see our greatness as our strength, our accomplishments, our wealth, our intelligence. He instead chooses to measure our greatness by our humility, by our love, by how we choose our words, how we take care of each other. See, for you and I, this new set of quote-unquote rules that Jesus begins to give us can be really hard to accept. We're so used to needing to perform at our highest level at the most efficient pace. But Jesus says whoever welcomes a child welcomes him. He shifts our definitions of greatness completely upside down and teaches us this new and better way to live. See, he looks at you and I and he sees Jesus in us. He doesn't see our accomplishments or awards or performance reviews, our yearly salary, the square footage of our home, our beautiful cars. He sees how we love and how we treat people. He loves us for who we are, just for the fact that we are his children, that we are his creation. He doesn't need us, and he doesn't even want us to be the same as someone else. See, you and I can give up the race that we feel like we're on and simply get better at being the unique person that God made us to be, and by loving others for being that as well. So as we end our time together, I think we need to ask ourselves a question, and I challenge you to ask it as I will ask it to myself today as well. Who am I tempted to compare myself to? Is my coworker, my neighbor, my friends, my parents, my spouse? Whoever that may be for you, let's today choose to not compare our accomplishments to theirs. Let's instead relish and celebrate the fact that we are all unique and loved by God, made in his image. as they are also made in his image, both valuable and pleasing to him. Let's together see the Christ in them and see the Christ in us as well, just as Jesus would see us. So you and I, may we end the comparison of creation and see the beauty and wonder that has been there all along.